Hello, I'm Mark Tucker,
Hey, I'm Alan Furstenberg, and we are Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Hello, Ellen.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Doing fine.
Splendid to hear.
It's
It's all up. Go
I was
for it.
gonna say, yeah, I think you're gonna say it was almost the holidays, and
Almost the holidays. And I think we are both ready for them.
yes, it'll be good to take a few days off break and spend some time with family that's coming from out of town. So
Yeah, same here. I've got family from out of town, and hopefully at least a few days where I can rest and decompress, then dive back into things on the new year.
So I've been experimenting with something on the Microsoft Azure side, something called Voice Live. It's a way that you can kind of tie speech to text and text to speech together. And you can either plug a model in the middle of that. But what we're actually going to show is that you can create an agent and have that agent be called by this API. And basically, it's a WebSocket connection that's going to tie everything together. So you can take an agent that's working and then turn it into a voice agent.
That sounds fantastic. Sounds really cool.
Kind of like the old time Google, Alexa, voice experiences that we spent time years ago working on. So,
And we will spend time on again, I have a funny feeling.
yes, we definitely will. So, I'm going to jump in. I'll try to kind of just do an overview enough to let you know about the feature and kind of what it does and a little bit of how to configure it. But I'll give you a little peek of the code, but we're not going to dive deep into it at all.
Sounds good.
So, all right. So what I'm wanting to do is first go to Azure. So in Azure, there's something called Microsoft Foundry. It used to be called Azure AI Foundry until just a few weeks ago at Microsoft Ignite. Now that's called Microsoft Foundry. So if you go here, you can see it's now rebranded. There is an old portal, easy for me to say, and a new Foundry portal. So we're going to start off in the old portal because that gives us this ability to quickly test an agent, and then I'll show you kind of where the features are in the new Foundry and what's currently available. So if you go to Foundry, and if you haven't used Foundry before, it does a number of different things. One of them being a model catalog where you can pick a model and deploy it actually here in Azure. And so I've created a model already and I've created an agent. So if we jump in here, we can see this agent is just a really simple agent. It's a Foundry agent, they call it, or agent service. And now we're calling this version 1 agent because now with the new Foundry, there's a version 2 agent. But basically, when you create an agent, there's a number of things that you can do. It gives a specific agent ID, which is something you're going to need for configuration. You get to pick which model. And so in this case, I've deployed a GPT-4o model to this environment, and I've configured this agent to talk like a pirate. That's its job. There's more things that you can do.
Nice classic way to test things out.
Yep. Yeah. It's just testing it out. There's other things that you can configure an agent inside of this portal. You do your RAG stuff here, so you can connect it to different data sources. You can also connect it to different APIs, like in this case, an open API endpoint, code interpreter, logic apps, some other things. You can also create multiple agents and then have one agent call these other agents. So that's what you can do with an agent. So you can click on here and that takes you to a playground where you can type in text and you can, test out your agent and sure enough, it works, right? Mm-hmm. But what's kind of nice here at the very bottom of this, there is voice enable your agents. And so you go to a different playground. Instead of chat playground, you're going to go to the speech playground. And that is where Voice Live is. Now, what is Voice Live? Voice Live is an API you connect to it via WebSockets. So you could have audio coming from your microphone in a web app, in this case, connecting to this WebSocket endpoint, and the audio streams one way, and and the responses are audio coming back. And so, and that's why it's WebSockets. And now inside of that, it's going to automatically handle the speech to text and the text to speech for you, kind of hidden behind that API. And in this case, you can configure a number of things. Here in this generative AI model, you can configure GPT real time. So in this case, it's actually doing real time. If you pick one of these other models, then it's going to be doing basically the Azure speech for the speech to text, and then pick an Azure voice for the text to speech side of things. But what's interesting down here is that you can bring your own Foundry agent. It's in preview. So I just selected that pirate agent that we created. This is the only configuration that there is to turn it into a voice agent. Now, in the speech side of things, you can configure. Go ahead.
So that's interesting. So the default behavior is not to bring your own agent. It's to do what? You're just connecting to a model,
Yeah.
and then you're giving it, tools and parameters, or are you giving it tools and parameters and other stuff? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're to select one of these, then down here you would have the ability to select tools. Like if I were to switch this into, even this GPT form model here,
Right. You set the
see down here.
instructions, you're setting.
Yeah. So you can do function calls. So you can configure this all in Foundry.
Okay.
But we're interested in this bring your own agent model. And so we've got that configured. Sure enough, this is, you can, on the input side, you can have an auto detect, or you can pick a specific language. You can, this is confirming that it's using Azure AI speech. So it's really doing speech to text separate from text to speech. And you've got your agent that's responding to text in the middle. So other configuration that on the speech input side, on the speech output side, you can pick, whatever language you want in here, whatever voice to do with that. So with just a click here and start, it's going to connect my microphone, and we should hear the agent talking like a pirate.
Ahoy there, matey. Welcome aboard.
Hey,
What be bring?
why is the sky so blue?
Ahoy, me hearty. The sky be blue, 'cause of the sunlight dancing with the air. When the sun beams down, its lights.
So sure enough, our agent that talked like a pirate was then plugged into our speech, and all of a sudden we have a voice agent, right? So,
Very cool.
and there's here, you can take a look at the code. Here's the point. Here's your resource key. Here's some Python code that you can use to call this, this agent. And that's how you do it in version 1. So if you want to then switch to the new Foundry, so it's a little bit nicer, newer, it's in preview. If you have some agents that were created in the old Foundry, you have to modify or migrate them to the new Foundry. So basically, I think behind the scenes for these agents, old Foundry is using the assistance API, and this newer Foundry is actually using the responses, OpenAI's responses API. So that's kind of partly why you have to change. So, but you can still do the same type of things. You can discover what model you want to do. You can build. Here you can build agents. So here's an agent, a second agent I created, and this one speaks in Old English. And I just configured it the same kind of similar way. But there's all kinds of things you can plug in, different knowledge sources and data and things like that. But in this new Foundry, there's not the same capabilities yet as in the old style Foundry. Like if I go into build and models, I can go over here to AI services, and I can go to find voice live. So here in this case, you've got this similar drop-down list, but you've got, some additional options, real-time mini, GPT-5, but you don't have the bring your own agent or bring your own model option
interesting.
here. So it's not quite available yet. But same type of things. You can specify your instructions, any different settings, configurations, all kinds of different voices. So you can test that out here as well.
Hi there. I'm Andrew, your travel guide.
Hey, Andrew.
Where are you thinking? Hey, great to meet you.
Uh,
Ready to plan an amazing trip?
yeah.
Tell me
Yeah,
what you've got in mind.
Let's
and we'll
go
make it
ahead and let's take a trip to, let's go to Hungary.
Fantastic choice. Hungary's full of rich history, beautiful architecture.
This is just showing that, this agent works as well. But right now it's really just limited to existing models. And it's, like I say, this new Foundry is in preview, but there's also a code example here that talks about it. So,
Okay. So it sounds like, and I assume, have they given any indication on how quickly they're going to be phasing out V1 or how quickly the features from V1 will be available in V2?
they really haven't said. They're talking about that things should go fairly quickly the first part of this next year, 2026, with things being more and more available in the new Foundry. But the new Foundry has all kinds of different things. You have the ability to host your own, code. You build agents in your own code framework and then deploy it to Foundry, and then Foundry behind the scenes uses a container service to run it. Besides building your own agents or configuring your own agents here in the portal, the Foundry portal, you can build your own code in various different frameworks like Microsoft Agent Framework or Lang Graph or pretty much anything else you want. There's some sort of adapter, and then you can deploy it here to Foundry, and it gets deployed and run on a container service. Or you can go to this Operate tab. And what that allows you to do is register an agent. All you need is an endpoint for your agent, and you can choose the protocol, whether it's going to be HTTP or agent to agent.
It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So what they're talking about is having Foundry be a place for all of your agents, whether it be something that you configure in Foundry, there's something called declarative agents, where you basically update a YAML file and you can configure your agent. There's the ability to do something in whatever code framework you want or register an external agent. And what that allows you to do is then you can monitor these agents, have access to telemetry, all kinds of different things. And that's kind of their vision is that Foundry will be a place for all of your agents. The last thing I want to show you just quickly is this repo, and I'll include a link to it. This is Voice Live Agents Quick Start, and this is specifically the Python code to connect to an agent. And I wanted to show you how simple it is. So we've got this Agents Quick Start and an Agents V2 Quick Start. And so that's the old Foundry and the new Foundry. So basically you create an agent in one and into one or the other or both. And then depending on which Foundry you use would be which code that you would use. But inside of this this code, there is a Azure AI Voice Live AIO library, and this is Voice Live. So this connect is the thing that connects to a WebSocket and brings it back and like plugs in different things. So the configuration of this Voice Live is the endpoint, some sort of a credential, and that's taken care of up here. And in this case, it's what project in Foundry you're using. The endpoint also points actually to what resource, Foundry resource is in Azure, which project kind of scopes it down to a specific project, and then which agent ID are you going to use in the access token. So that's how that's all the configuration that you need. And then you're just, streaming in audio and receiving
You're
audio
hooking up
back.
the audio to this connection and kind of
Yep.
goes from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all this code, it's got a sample audio processor. So, you can actually run this code, just in your terminal and then have a conversation with your agent. Now, I just want to show you the different, because this isn't published yet. And as we noticed in the version 2 Foundry, it didn't show you anywhere where you could bring your own agent to Voice Live if your agent was a B2 agent. But you can do that. All you have to do is create that same agent, configure it like you did. And if we go to connect here, then the only thing that's different is that instead of agent ID, it's the agent name. And
Okay.
that's all you should be able to have to do. Don't know when it's going to be available, even in preview, but it's something that you can play around with and experiment and get an idea of where things are going.
And this is the same endpoint. We just have a different identifier to connect to the agent.
Yeah. So there's this same endpoint that points to whatever your resource is in Azure, what project it is. And so like if we were to go back here, you can, when you actually get to your code for your agent, so this is the project that it's part of, but, and that's the ID of the agent. But if you look at this playground and look at the code, it's going to give you the endpoint. So here's the endpoint. So this is like the resource in Azure, and then the, kind of the namespace. And that is the endpoint. This right here is the project name. And then this is the friendly name. You actually have to have the actual agent ID, which is kind of the assistant underscore this ID, assistant underscore. So that's the third piece of configuration that you need for
And that's the
using
third
it.
piece of configuration you need for V1. The name is the third piece of configuration you need for V2.
Yeah. So for
And it's-
V2, there is no ID that you can see. Whatever the name of your agent is called is the friendly name, and that's what you use. It's pretty fun. It's fun to get back to doing a voice agent, and it's also just fun to see how expressive it can be using generative AI and orchestration with the different things there. The voices are a lot more improved with some of the newer Azure text to speech voices, and it's been a lot of fun to see how quick and easy it is to create an agent. In this case, using Azure.
So fantastic. Good to hear this stuff pressing ahead with voice again. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing more and more voice stuff coming up soon. So,
Yeah. And it's like we said, like you can, this is showing it on a web. You can connect it with something like Azure Communication Services for, telephony based systems. So there's just lots of different things that you can do.
So always exciting times ahead. I would love to see what other people are doing with Microsoft Foundry or doing with other voice agents that are beginning to come online. Folks can feel free, as always, comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we will see you another time on Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Mark. This was great.